With Loki just ended and a new Marvel entry, What If, just making its debut on the airwaves, let me talk about my most important what if in the MCU. What if a series which is one of the first and by far in my opinion the best Marvel comic adaptation into a series, what if it hadn't been cancelled? I recently finished a marathon binge of the show which ran 3 seasons and I realized it is really some next level shit. To stand its ground even when shows like WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki are around, that is a great feat. Hello, Namaskar, welcome, Swagatam. I'm sure most of you have guessed which show I'm talking about. So in this installment of Tinsel Talk, let us revisit a gem of a Netflix original content. Marvel Daredevil, seasons 1 through 3. And just for the sake of continuity, I also binged through the Defenders. I have to talk a bit about that as well. About 2 years back, I did review the 3rd season of Daredevil. You can check out that video from the link above here. And while you do, please remember to subscribe to my channel, The Versatile Doctor. Your sub won't cost you anything, but it means a great deal for the channel. So as I was saying, this is not a season review, but really the series discussion, how I feel about the show as a whole and why you should rewatch the whole thing like I did at least once a year. This is going to be a 3-part video. In the present video, I will talk a bit of the background and setup of the world of Daredevil, mostly in context of the season 1. The continuing journey of Daredevil through seasons 2 and 3 and also the Defenders, those I'll talk about in the next videos. So let us begin with some background. The year is 2013. Just a year ago, the Avengers had come to the theaters and blown both our minds and the box office records to pieces. The Disney-owned Marvel Studios was looking up to a glorious future ahead in a franchise unlike any other. And Bob Iger said, let us diversify. Let us move beyond the confines of the big screen. From 2 movies a year, let us make more stuff based on the Pandora's box that is Marvel's cinematic universe. The core driving principle behind a series of Netflix shows was that the world of the Avengers was epic, but the world itself was far too big for only the Avengers to take care of. While Iron Man, Thor, Captain America and the bunch deal with stuff that can literally end worlds, there are some things too small to be on their radar. Things a normal Joe would hold most dear to, his home, his neighborhood, his family. For a common man, a bunch of superheroes may be a grand sight to behold, to cheer up for, to look up to. All for a few moments. But after the victory lap is done, he needs to wake up to his normal life and deal with things which normal people deal with. On the ground, things aren't always bright and colorful. In comes Daredevil. With the established media platform of Netflix, Daredevil had the opportunity to delve into the darker, grittier and realistic telling of a story. And contrary to the popular belief, the freedom an OTT platform like Netflix provides to a storyteller doesn't necessarily mean lots and lots of nudity. Marvel's Daredevil gave us a version of a comic book superhero life told as we had never seen before. Superheroes had been on the waves for a long time. DC Comics had Smallville, Arrow and all those shows on the air, while Marvel was starting to follow suit with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But as I said, Netflix's world was different. And that, I'd say, is the greatest strength of Daredevil. It is a comic book based show. There are stuff in the show which don't make sense in the real world, but still it is as real as any other story of a crime-fighting vigilante can be. Before I start talking about the story and breaking down more details about the show, I must issue a spoiler warning. If you are completely new to the world of OTT content or somehow you missed an awesome piece of serialized crime action drama story, you should go watch all the seasons of Daredevil before continuing to watch this video. You wouldn't want to have some details spoiled if you haven't watched the show. You have been warned. The story is simple. There is a lawyer by the name of Matthew Murdock. He is the son of a boxer, Jack Murdoch, and he is blind. But being blind has accentuated his other senses, and with years of training, he is now also living the life of a vigilante by night, Daredevil. Just that he isn't cocky enough that he would name himself Daredevil. That name is given to him.
Hey, so what am I supposed to call you when I file my report?
Daredevil. That's what they're calling him now.
And it grows organically, in complete contrast to...
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
There is a story behind his costume too. The final iconic red Daredevil suit, another plus point and a rare thing to find in comic book adaptations. So anyway, Daredevil is pitted against his arch nemesis, the kingpin of crime, Wilson Fisk. And I don't say the term arch nemesis lightly. He is the main villain of the seasons 1 and 3 and is also around doing some damage in season 2. The beauty of this rivalry from a storytelling perspective is that the clash isn't easy to resolve. Matt Murdock tries his way first through the law firm he and his college friend Franklin Nelson have built up. But the noble pursuit of lawful justice is always elusive in this world, so Daredevil has to take matters in his own hands.
Sometimes we have to do things outside of the law.
Even so, it is not a simple matter of beating up some disposable goons and reaching the man on the top. Not only is Wilson Fisk an adversary to be reckoned with, he is also a physically capable man. Having an army of disposable goons is one thing, but beating men to their deaths with his bare hands is right up his alley too. He is more than capable of tackling Daredevil alone, and that is what makes this story all the more interesting and the conflict so compelling. It is difficult. There are personal stakes as well as lives of people on the line. In season 1, Wilson Fisk still hasn't figured out who Daredevil actually is. So he does not try to hurt Matt Murdock. In fact, he doesn't consider the devil of Hell's Kitchen to be that significant of an obstruction as to invest his time and resources into fishing out his secret identity. He is confident that he can tackle Daredevil on his own, or more accurately, he can have his other partners in crime take care of Daredevil without getting his own hands dirty. And what do you know? He is not wrong. The devil of Hell's Kitchen, who we meet in the first few episodes of the season 1, is really in over his head, and it shows.
Okay, you can't. Don't. You've lost a lot of blood. I think you might have been stabbed.
I have to leave.
You want to leave doors that way?
But then he learns from his mistakes. The people he cares for as Daredevil and those he cares for as Matt are quite overlapping. So when the stakes are so personal and a man is pushed to his limits, there is no way out but to evolve. I can't say that Daredevil in the season 1 of this show lives up to his iconic title of the man without fear. But he does become a man who everyone, even someone like Wilson Fisk, must fear. And all this happens in the very real setting of Hell's Kitchen. No, this is not the Hell's Kitchen of Chef Gordon Ramsay. This is the real neighborhood of New York City. Have you ever noticed how the most iconic and recognizable comic book superheroes of all time, Superman and Batman, they both operate in imaginary places, Metropolis and Gotham City. The Flash, Barry Allen, lives in Central City, and Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, resides in Star City. One very significant way in which a majority of Marvel comic characters differ from their DC Comics counterparts is that they reside in real locations. Spider-Man is from Queens.
Where are you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
Tony Stark from Long Island, all New York. Doctor Strange is from Philadelphia. Bruce Banner is from Ohio, all real places. I could go on and on about the impact that these non-imaginary origins had in making Marvel heroes more relatable, and how this and other differences between the storytelling of Marvel comic characters versus the DC Comics superheroes explains my utter preference of Marvel over DC. But that is not the topic of this video. Coming back to Hell's Kitchen, the story of Daredevil is set a few months after the first Avengers movie, after the Battle of New York.
This office was barely touched by the incident, which is why it's on the market already.
The incident, is that what we're calling it now?
Well, it sounds so much better than death and destruction raining from the sky, nearly wiping Hell's Kitchen off the map.
The destruction and subsequent rebuilding of the city has opened up an avenue for some interested parties to exploit. Fisk has brought together few of the most influential, powerful, and not to mention evil groups of New York working together in a symbiotic relationship. Something mysterious and nefarious is brewing in New York, as gangs of the Russians, the Chinese, the Japanese are colluding towards a common goal. The Chinese supply drugs, Russians distribute them, Leland manages their accounts, and the Japanese are in the mix too for some reason.
Leland's financials, Gao's product, and Vlad and Anatoly's distribution until we absorb that facet. What do Nobu and his men bring to the table? What are they in all this?
And manipulating each faction from the shadows is Wilson Fisk. With any such diverse conglomerate, be it legal or illegal, there's bound to be some power struggle. People trying to one-up each other or cut each other's throats, as the case may be. For a calculating and thoughtful player like Wilson Fisk, all these problems are small towards attainment of his ultimate goal to make Hell's Kitchen a better place. Of course, after first tearing down the old neighborhood. His final agenda is domination, of course, but he actually has a vision. Unlike most villains, he doesn't do bad stuff just for the sake of profit or for power. His vision of a better place can move any sane person.
Give up my dream that I have for this city. A dream of a better place. A place for its citizens to feel safe, to feel pride.
Vincent D'Onofrio plays this character with such an unusual conviction and a unique persuasion that it is eerie at some times. No villainous laughs, no pretenses, he knows what he wants, and more than that, he knows whom to consider his equal, whom his rival, and whom his friend. Problems for Wilson Fisk start when one of his supposed victims, Karen Page, escapes her fate and lands with the law firm of Nelson and Murdoch. As soon as Matt Murdock decides to take Karen's case, the fates of Wilson Fisk and Matthew Murdock become forever intertwined.
I didn't kill him.
I believe you, Miss Page.
Karen has stumbled upon some evidence of a scam which would ultimately lead to Wilson Fisk, although no one realizes that at that time. Layer by layer, the evidence unfolds, people start dying, and Karen joins Team Nelson and Murdoch, fighting the good fight in the confines of the law. While Karen Page's continued living and Daredevil's interference in Fisk's grand plans annoy him, he loses no time in using the apparent hurdles towards his own advantage. He first of all manipulates the Russians to focus their rage on Daredevil, creating a win-win situation. Either the Russians remove Daredevil from the equation, or Daredevil beats the Russians and gets them locked up. Either way, Fisk would have one less adversary to deal with once that situation is resolved. The story demonstrates Fisk's cunning and manipulative abilities in flourishes of plot twists, and until the very last moment of each episode keeps us hooked. Daredevil Season 1 is as much a story of Wilson Fisk as it is of Matt Murdock. This was surprising to see, given that we didn't even see Fisk on the screen until the very end of episode 3. Wilson Fisk is someone who has all the money in the world and power. All he needs is someone to take care of his heart, someone as strong-willed as himself. That he finds in Vanessa Mariana. She works at an art gallery, but underneath she is a different woman. An independent woman, someone capable of knowing, understanding, and accepting Fisk. So, while we have such strong players on the scene, Vanessa is the only one closest to Fisk. She becomes the driving force behind Fisk's monopoly and all victories that he himself hadn't dared dream of. Ironically, she is also the reason for Fisk's downfall. Charlie Cox plays the character of Matt Murdock and Daredevil as though he was born to play it.
I have to be the man this city needs.
What are you gonna do?
Whatever it takes.
Not only does he sell the blind look, but his voice conveys his feelings and emotions as much as his face and body language. The derision and the bitterness in his voice betray the deep-seated quest for righteousness, to do no evil and to right wrongs whenever possible. And it is subtle. Many of the dialogue Matt speaks, mostly to his priests or to his closest friends, those may be dismissed as plain sarcasm, but once you link what he says to what he does, you find out the depth of his meaning. Matt Murdock and Daredevil both are driven to the brink of collapse, of complete and utter failure, almost death. But what makes Daredevil and Matt Murdock most like his father in the story is that he always gets right back up. All his self-doubt, all indifference, all his efforts of pushing people close to him away from himself end up proving him to be a complex human being and ultimately a good person. There is a grey area in Daredevil's mode of operation. He doesn't kill, but he has watched people die because of him, because of his actions, and he also has let people die many times. And that is one of the cores of his self-doubt, his perpetual internal conflict and agony, which in turn drives him forward, drives him to do things no one would dare do. So, as the devil of Hell's Kitchen earns the name Daredevil, it brings this video to an end. In the next video, I will talk about the story in more details and the major characters throughout the seasons, other than Daredevil and Fisk. Till then, do tell me how many times you have binged through the seasons of Daredevil, which season is your favorite and which character moved you the most. This is all from my side for today. If you like this video, please do leave a thumbs up and share this video with all your friends. And until my next video, stay tuned with me and connect with me on social media. As always, I am eagerly looking forward to your feedback and comments. This is Dr. Abhinav Atul signing off. It is my pride and privilege to be able to connect with you through this video. Namaskar. As soon as the next part of my Daredevil discussion is uploaded, you will see the link to that video right here. Till that time, please check out this video which YouTube thinks you will enjoy.